Why I Never Wash Clothes at Midnight, 3 True Apartment Horror Stories. Picture this. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. You're staring at a pile of dirty work clothes that you desperately need for tomorrow morning. The laundry room in your apartment building is just down the hall. Empty, quiet, probably available. You grab your basket, your detergent, maybe your phone for entertainment while you wait. It's just laundry, right? What could possibly go wrong in a shared laundry room at midnight? I'm about to tell you 3 true stories that will make you rethink that late-night wash cycle forever. These aren't urban legends. These aren't creepypastas. These are documented cases. Real people, real apartments, real terror that unfolded in the most mundane place imaginable. A basement laundry room. And here's the thing. The scariest part isn't what happened to these people. It's how easily it could happen to you. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about shared laundry rooms and eerily silent apartment complexes at midnight. If this video helps you avoid making a fatal mistake, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a like. Trust me, you're going to want to remember this. Now look, I know what you're thinking. Nick, it's just a laundry room. What's the big deal? That's exactly what Sarah Townsend thought on March 14, 2019. That's exactly what Marcus Chen believed on a cold November night in 2016. And that's definitely what Jennifer Hartley assumed when she moved into the Riverside Apartments in Portland, Oregon in 2018. They were all wrong. Sarah Townsend, Chicago, Illinois, 2019. Sarah Townsend was a 28-year-old marketing consultant living in a 6-story apartment building in Lincoln Park, Chicago. The building was your typical mid-range complex. Nothing fancy, nothing terrible. About 40 units, a small gym that nobody used, and a basement laundry room with 6 washers and 6 dryers. Sarah worked long hours. Most nights she wouldn't get home until 9 or 10 p.m. And like a lot of us, she'd let her laundry pile up until she absolutely had no choice but to deal with it. March 14, 2019 was one of those nights. She got home around 10:30 p.m. after a particularly brutal day at work. 14-hour day, back-to-back meetings, her boss breathing down her neck about a campaign that was due the next morning. She was exhausted. But she'd run out of clean work clothes, and she had an important client presentation at 9 a.m. the next day. So at 11:45 p.m., Sarah grabbed her laundry basket, her detergent pods, her phone, and her apartment keys. She took the elevator down to the basement level. Now, here's what most people don't realize about basement laundry rooms in older apartment buildings. They're designed for convenience, not safety. They're usually at the end of a long hallway, away from the main elevator area. Poor lighting. No windows. No security cameras in most cases. Just you, the machines, and whoever else might be down there. Sarah pushed open the heavy metal door to the laundry room. The fluorescent lights flickered for a second before stabilizing. That buzzing, slightly nauseating glow that makes everything look washed out and clinical. The room was empty. All 6 washers silent. All 6 dryers still. Perfect. She loaded her clothes into washer number 3, added her detergent, selected the cycle, and sat down on the bench against the wall. She pulled out her phone and started scrolling through social media, responding to work emails, the usual late-night routine. The washer hummed to life. That rhythmic churning sound. Water sloshing. Nothing unusual. Sarah had been sitting there for maybe 7 minutes when she heard it. A door closing. Not the laundry room door. She would have noticed someone coming in. This was different. Distant. Somewhere else in the basement. The building had several storage areas down there, a mechanical room for the boiler, some old maintenance closets that most tenants didn't even know existed. She looked up from her phone. Listen. Nothing. Just the washer. She went back to her phone, but something felt off. You know that feeling? When your primitive brain is trying to tell you something your conscious mind hasn't quite processed yet. That slight tightening in your chest. The way your hearing seems to sharpen. The sudden awareness of how alone you actually are. Sarah tried to ignore it. She told herself she was being paranoid. It was an old building Buildings make noise. Pipes creak. Doors slam when the air pressure changes. Nothing to worry about. But then she heard footsteps. Not in the hallway outside the laundry room. No, these were coming from somewhere behind the back wall of the laundry room itself. Heavy, slow, deliberate. Sarah stood up. Her washer still had 31 minutes left in the cycle. "Hello?" she called out. Her voice sounded small in the concrete room. No response. The footsteps stopped. Now you might be thinking, "Nick, why didn't she just leave? Forget the laundry and get out of there." And that's a reasonable question. But here's the thing about fear. Real fear, not the fun kind you get from horror movies. It doesn't always work the way you think it will. Sarah's rational mind was telling her there was a logical explanation. Maybe it was the tenant who lived directly above the laundry room. Maybe it was building maintenance working late. Maybe it was nothing at all. But her body knew better. She walked slowly toward the back wall of the laundry room. There was a small door there, painted the same industrial beige as the walls, easy to miss if you weren't looking for it. She'd never really noticed it before. Never had a reason to. Sarah reached for the handle. It was unlocked. She pulled the door open and a wave of cold, stale air hit her face. Behind the door was a narrow hallway she didn't know existed. Concrete walls, exposed pipes running along the ceiling, a single bare bulb providing minimal light about 20 feet down. And at the end of that hallway, barely visible in the shadows, was another door, slightly ajar. "This is insane," she whispered to herself. "Just go back upstairs." But she didn't. This is where it gets really interesting, because Sarah later told police that she felt almost compelled to investigate. Not curious, compelled. Like something was pulling her forward. She took 3 steps into that hallway. Then she heard breathing. Not her own breathing. Someone else's. Coming from the dark doorway at the end of the hall. Slow. Steady. Watching. Sarah ran. She bolted back into the laundry room, grabbed her phone, left her washing still churning in the machine, and sprinted for the laundry room door. She slammed it behind her, raced to the elevator, and didn't stop moving until she was back in her apartment with the door locked, chained, and a chair wedged under the handle. She called 911 at 12:17 a.m. 2 officers from the Chicago Police Department arrived at 12:34 a.m. Sarah met them in the lobby, refused to go back down to the basement alone. She explained what happened: the footsteps, the hidden hallway, the breathing. The officers were skeptical but professional. They went down to investigate. Here's what they found. The small door Sarah had opened led to an old maintenance corridor that connected to the building's original boiler room, a section that had been sealed off during renovations in 2011. Except it hadn't been sealed off. Not completely. The door at the end of the hallway opened into a small room, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. And inside that room, the officers found a sleeping bag, empty food wrappers, water bottles, a battery-powered lantern. And this is the part that made Sarah's blood run cold: dozens of photographs. Photographs of tenants. Sarah. Sarah entering the building. Sarah getting her mail. Sarah in the laundry room on previous occasions, taken through the crack in that back door she'd never noticed. Photos of her at the washing machines, at the dryers, sitting on that bench scrolling through her phone. Someone had been living in that hidden room. Watching. Waiting. The investigation revealed that a man named Robert Allen Kendrick, 43, a former maintenance worker who'd been fired from the building in 2017, had been secretly accessing the basement through an external entrance that connected to the old boiler room. He'd been living there on and off for nearly 8 months. Kendrick was arrested 3 days later at a homeless shelter 6 blocks away. He eventually pleaded guilty to criminal trespass, stalking, and harassment. He's currently serving a 6-year sentence in Stateville Correctional Center. But here's the question Sarah still asks herself, the question that keeps her up at night. What was he planning to do? The police found a knife in that room. Rope. Duct tape. She went down to that laundry room at 11:45 p.m., completely alone, following the same routine she'd followed for months. What if she'd stayed? What if her washer cycle had finished? What if she'd been loading her clothes into the dryer when he decided to make his move? Sarah moved out of that building 2 weeks later. She never did finish that load of laundry. To this day, she only washes clothes during daylight hours and never, ever alone. Marcus Chin, Seattle, Washington, 2016. Now look, if you think Sarah's story is disturbing, wait until you hear about Marcus Chin. Marcus was different from most people you'd find doing midnight laundry. He was a 35-year-old software engineer, rational, logical, not the type to spook easily. He worked from home most days, which meant his schedule was flexible. He could have done his laundry anytime. But Marcus was also a severe insomniac. He'd struggled with sleep issues since college. Most nights, he'd be wide awake until 3 or 4 a.m., his mind racing with code problems, project deadlines, that constant hum of anxiety that comes with the tech industry. His doctor had prescribed sleeping pills, but they made him groggy the next day, affected his work performance. So Marcus embraced his insomnia. He worked late, he played video games, he watched movies, and sometimes, when he needed to feel productive during those sleepless hours, he did laundry. His apartment building in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood had a laundry room on each floor. His was on the 3rd floor, just 3 doors down from his unit. Super convenient. He'd been living there for 2 years, never had any problems. November 18, 2016, 2:47 a.m. Marcus grabbed his laundry basket and walked down the hallway. The building was silent in that particular way that buildings get after 2 a.m., not just quiet, but empty feeling, like you're the only person left in the world. He used his key to unlock the laundry room door. His building required a key for security, one of those small amenities that make you feel safer, like the management actually cares about protecting you. Marcus loaded his clothes into one of the 3 washers, started the cycle, and settled into a folding chair with his laptop. He was working on a debugging issue that had been frustrating him all day. The monotonous sound of the washer actually helped him focus. He worked for about 20 minutes, making good progress, when he noticed something odd. The washer next to his, washer number 2, started running. But no one had come into the room. Marcus looked up. He was alone. The door was closed. The other 2 washers were empty. But washer number 2 was definitely running. He could hear the water filling, see the cycle indicator light glowing. He stood up and walked over to it, peered through the glass door. There were clothes inside. A load of dark clothing tumbling in the soapy water. "That's weird," he muttered to himself. Maybe someone had started their load before he got there, and he just hadn't noticed? But that didn't make sense. The washer had definitely been silent when he'd arrived. He would have heard it running. Marcus checked his phone. 3:12 a.m. He went back to his laptop, tried to focus on his code, but he kept glancing at washer number 2. Something about it bothered him. Not in a scary way, just in an odd, doesn't quite add up way. 5 minutes later, the dryer started. Not his dryer. The dryer directly above washer number 2. Same thing, no one had entered the room. No one had transferred clothes from the washer to the dryer. But the dryer was running. He could see clothes tumbling inside through the circular window. Dark clothes. The same dark clothes from the washer. Except, that was impossible. The washer was still running. How could the clothes be in the dryer? Marcus walked over to washer number 2. It was still churning, still full of soapy water and dark clothing. But when he looked up at the dryer, there were also clothes in there, dark clothing, similar but possibly different, spinning in the heated air. "Okay, this is officially weird," Marcus said aloud. He pulled out his phone and took a photo of the washer, then a photo of the dryer. Just in case anyone asked him later if he was losing his mind, he wanted proof that he wasn't hallucinating. Here's where Marcus made a decision that, in retrospect, he deeply regrets. He decided to stay. His own washer still had 18 minutes left in the cycle. He wasn't going to abandon his laundry over a couple of malfunctioning machines. They were probably on a delayed timer that some forgetful tenant had set earlier in the evening. Weird, yes, but explainable. Except the machines kept multiplying. At 3:31 a.m., the third washer started. At 3:39 a.m., another dryer. At 3:44 a.m., both remaining dryers kicked on simultaneously. Within 20 minutes, every single machine in the laundry room was running. All three washers churning. All three dryers tumbling. The room filled with the overlapping sounds of water and motors and heated air, creating this bizarre mechanical symphony that made it hard to think straight. And Marcus was still alone. He stood in the middle of the room, slowly turning, watching all 6 machines running with loads of dark clothing that he definitely, absolutely, 100% had not seen anyone load. His washer finished. The cycle complete beeper went off, somehow audible over the cacophony of the other machines. Marcus just stared at it. He should have transferred his clothes to a dryer. That's why he was there. But every dryer was occupied, running, full of clothes that shouldn't exist. That's when he saw the shadow. It moved across the frosted glass window in the laundry room door. A human-shaped silhouette, passing from right to left in the hallway outside. Someone was out there. Marcus's heart rate kicked up. He walked to the door, pressed his face close to the frosted glass. He could see the distorted shapes of the hallway beyond, but no clear details. "Hello?" he called out. "Is someone there?" The shadow moved again, left to right this time, pacing. Marcus grabbed the door handle and pulled it open. The hallway was empty. Completely empty. No one standing there. No one walking away. Just the long corridor with its dimmed nighttime lighting and the silent apartment doors. But Marcus heard footsteps. Behind him. Inside the laundry room. He spun around. Still alone. Just him and the running machines. Except, and this is what finally made Marcus leave, every single machine had stopped. All at once. No gradual power down. No cycle complete beepers. They just stopped. Silence. And in that sudden silence, Marcus heard a voice. A whisper, barely audible, coming from somewhere he couldn't pinpoint. It seemed to come from the walls themselves, from the machines, from the very air. It said, "Get out." Marcus didn't need to be told twice. He left his wet clothes in the washer, left the laundry room, and practically ran back to his apartment. He locked his door and waited until sunrise before he even considered going back. The next morning, Marcus reported the incident to building management. He tried to sound rational, focused on the technical issue, the machines turning on by themselves, the possible electrical problem that needed to be addressed. The maintenance supervisor, a guy named Don who'd been working there for 15 years, came to investigate that afternoon. Marcus went with him, feeling foolish in the daylight, wondering if he'd overreacted. Don checked the machines, ran diagnostics, looked at the electrical panel. "Everything seems fine," Don said. "No shorts, no timer issues. You sure all of them were running?" Marcus showed him the photos on his phone. Proof that he hadn't imagined it. Don's face went pale. "What?" Marcus asked. "What is it?" Don zoomed in on one of the photos. The one showing washer number 2 with its load of dark clothes. "You see this?" Don pointed at the washer's glass door. In the reflection, barely visible, was a face. Or the suggestion of a face. Pale, distorted by the water and soap, but definitely there, pressed against the inside of the glass, looking out. That's just a reflection," Marcus said, even though he didn't believe it. Don shook his head. "Marcus, do you know the history of this building?" Marcus didn't. Don explained that before the building was converted to apartments in 2004, it had been a psychiatric hospital. The laundry room on the 3rd floor had been where they cleaned the patient's clothing, bedding, straitjackets. Standard practice, nothing unusual. Except in 1987, a patient named Eleanor Graves had drowned herself in one of the industrial washing machines during a particularly violent psychotic episode. She'd somehow managed to climb inside while it was running. The staff didn't discover her until it was too late. The machine she drowned in? According to Don's records, it had been in the same location as the current washer number 2. Marcus moved out 30 days later when his lease was up. He now lives in a building within Unit Laundry. He's never told anyone except close friends about what happened that night. And he absolutely, positively never does laundry after midnight. But here's what really haunts him. In those photos he took, if you look carefully at each machine, all 6 of them, there's something visible in every single one. Faces, hands, shapes that shouldn't be there. Marcus deleted those photos 2 months after he moved, but he still remembers them. He still sees them when he closes his eyes. Jennifer Hartley, Portland, Oregon, 2018. Now look, I've told you about stalkers hiding in maintenance rooms. I've told you about haunted laundry machines in former psychiatric hospitals. But this third story? This is the one that genuinely terrifies me. Because unlike the others, there's no clear explanation. No arrest. No historical trauma. Just pure, inexplicable horror. Jennifer Hartley was a 31-year-old elementary school teacher who moved to Portland in August 2018 for a fresh start. She'd just gone through a difficult divorce, wanted to be closer to her sister, needed a change of scenery. She found a great apartment in the Riverside complex, a modern building only 6 years old right along the Willamette River. Beautiful views, secure entry, underground parking, the kind of place that feels safe. That feels like a good decision. Her apartment was on the 5th floor, and the building's main laundry room was in the basement, next to the parking garage. 24-hour access. Clean, well-lit security cameras in the hallway. Everything you'd want. Jennifer moved in on August 18th. For the first 3 weeks, everything was perfect. She loved her apartment, loved the neighborhood, loved her new job. She'd do her laundry on Saturday mornings, usually around 10 a.m., when the laundry room was busy with other tenants. Safe, normal, pleasant even. But then her schedule changed. Jennifer's school started an after-school program in early September. She was volunteering to stay late twice a week, helping struggling students with reading and math. It was rewarding work, but it meant she often didn't get home until 8 or 9 p.m. on those days. Her laundry started piling up. She'd go a week, sometimes 2 weeks, without washing clothes. Finally, on September 28, 2018, she couldn't put it off any longer. She had a parent-teacher conference the next morning and needed clean professional clothes. She got home at 9:15 p.m. exhausted, but she gathered her laundry, grabbed her detergent and fabric softener, and took the elevator down to the basement. It was 10:47 p.m. when she entered the laundry room. 3 other people were there, a young couple folding clothes at the table, and an older man waiting for his dryer to finish. Normal. Mundane. Jennifer loaded her clothes into washer number 7, her lucky number, she'd later tell police, started the cycle, and sat down with a book she'd brought. The couple left at 11:03 p.m., their laundry neatly folded in their basket. The older man's dryer finished at 11:12 p.m. He collected his clothes and left, nodding politely to Jennifer on his way out. She was alone. Jennifer read her book, occasionally checking the washer's timer. She was planning to transfer her clothes to a dryer and head back upstairs while they dried, come back down in an hour to collect them. Simple plan. At 11:34 p.m., her washer finished. She stood up, walked to washer number 7, and opened the door. The wet clothes had that fresh, clean smell. She started pulling them out, transferring them to the dryer directly above. That's when she felt it. A hand. In the washer. Gripping her wrist. Jennifer screamed and yanked her arm back. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought she might pass out. She stared at the open washer door, her wet clothes still piled inside. There was nothing there. No hand. No person. Just her soaking wet laundry. You're losing it, she told herself. You're exhausted. You imagined it. But her wrist hurt. She looked down at it, and there, clear as day, were red marks. Finger-shaped marks. 4 fingers and a thumb wrapped around her wrist. She took a photo with her phone, her hands shaking so badly it took 3 tries to get a clear picture. Jennifer backed away from the washer. She should have left. Should have abandoned her laundry and gotten out of there. But she was scared that if she left, whatever had grabbed her might follow her. I know that sounds irrational, but fear isn't rational. And in that moment, Jennifer felt safer in the well-lit laundry room than she did in the dark hallway, the shadowy elevator, the underground parking garage she'd have to walk through to reach the stairs. So she did something incredibly brave or incredibly foolish depending on how you look at it. She approached the washer again. Slowly, carefully. She looked inside. And at the very bottom, beneath all her clothes, something was moving. Not moving like the clothes were settling. Moving deliberately, purposefully. Jennifer grabbed the edge of the washer and dumped it over. Her clothes spilled out onto the floor in a wet heap. And there, at the bottom of the pile, she saw it. A dress. A child's dress. White with small blue flowers. Old-fashioned, like something from the 1950s or 60s. Soaking wet, but not from her wash cycle. This dress was a different kind of wet. Thick, heavy. Dark water that spread across the linoleum floor in a slow, oily puddle. Jennifer didn't own a dress like that. She didn't have any children. She hadn't put that dress in the washer. But there it was. She bent down, God knows why, maybe morbid curiosity, maybe that same compulsion Sarah had felt, and touched the dress. It was ice cold. Colder than any washing machine water should be. And then the dress moved. It twisted like something inside it was trying to get free. The fabric rippled and bulged. Jennifer stumbled backward, slipped on the wet floor, fell hard on her hip. From inside the dress came a sound. A child's voice, singing. Ring around the rosy pocket full of posies. The lights in the laundry room flickered. Ashes, ashes. The dress inflated, filled with something, air or water or something worse. We all fall down. And then it collapsed, empty again. Just a wet dress on the floor. But the puddle of dark water kept spreading. It moved across the floor toward Jennifer, not flowing like normal water but moving with purpose. Seeking. Jennifer scrambled to her feet and ran. She didn't grab her clothes. Didn't grab her detergent or fabric softener. Just ran. She made it to the elevator, slammed her hand on the button, waited an eternity for the doors to open. When they finally did, she practically fell inside and hammered the 5 button. As the elevator doors closed, she looked back at the laundry room. The lights were off. She could swear she'd left them on, but they were off now. And in the darkness of the doorway, she saw a small silhouette. A child-sized shadow. Standing. Watching her leave. Jennifer went straight to her apartment and called 911. She tried to explain what happened, knew she sounded insane, but the 911 operator was professional and kind. She promised to send officers to investigate. 2 Portland police officers arrived at 12:18 a.m. Jennifer met them in the lobby, still shaking, still showing them the red marks on her wrist that were already starting to bruise. The officers went down to the basement laundry room. Jennifer refused to go with them. Here's what they found. All of Jennifer's clothes, neatly folded, stacked on the table. The washer she'd been using, completely dry inside. No water. No residue. The floor completely dry. No puddle. No dark water. And no white dress with blue flowers. But they did find something else. Something they didn't tell Jennifer about until later, because they didn't want to frighten her more than she already was. In the security camera footage from the hallway outside the laundry room, they saw Jennifer enter at 10:47 p.m. They saw the couple leave. They saw the older man leave. And then at 11:39 p.m., they saw Jennifer run out of the laundry room. But the timestamp was wrong. Between the time the older man left, 11:12 p.m., and the time Jennifer fled, 11:39 p.m., only 27 minutes had passed. Jennifer's washer cycle was 35 minutes. There was no way it could have finished in that time. More disturbing, In the security footage, if you watch carefully between 11:12 p.m. and 11:39 p.m., the laundry room door opens 6 times. Just opens about 3 inches, then closes again. No one entering or leaving. Just opening and closing. 6 times. And if you enhance the footage, if you really look closely, you can see something in the gap when the door opens. Something small. Something child-sized. Something watching Jennifer through the crack. The police filed a report. Building management reviewed the security footage. They found no evidence of an intruder. No explanation for the marks on Jennifer's wrist. No white dress. But they did discover something interesting when they researched the property's history. Before the Riverside Apartments were built in 2012, the land had been vacant for decades. But in the 1960s, it had been the site of a small apartment building called the Rosewood Complex. And on June 14, 1963, a 6-year-old girl named Lily Brennan had drowned in the building's basement laundry room. She'd been playing hide-and-seek with her older brother, climbed inside an industrial washing machine to hide, and her brother, not knowing she was in there, had started the machine as a prank. By the time anyone found her, it was too late. The original Rosewood Complex had been torn down in 1971 after a series of unexplained accidents and deaths. The land sat empty for 41 years before the Riverside Apartments were constructed. Same location, same basement level, same position where the old laundry room had been. Jennifer broke her lease and moved out 3 days later. She forfeited her security deposit. Didn't care. She now lives in a house with her sister, has her own washer and dryer, and hasn't set foot in a shared laundry room since September 28, 2018. But here's the thing that keeps her awake at night, the thing she can't stop thinking about. That dress she saw, white with blue flowers. She didn't tell the police this detail, didn't include it in her statement. But after the incident, she did some research into Lily Brennan's death. Found old newspaper articles from 1963. In one of the articles, there was a photo of Lily taken a few weeks before she died. A school photo. And in that photo, Lily was wearing a white dress with small blue flowers. The same dress. Jennifer still has the photo she took of the bruises on her wrist. She's shown it to doctors who can't explain how she got such clear fingerprint-shaped marks from nothing. She's shown it to paranormal investigators who tell her she's lucky she got away. But got away from what? From whom? From a ghost? From a memory? From something that's been waiting in that basement for 55 years, reliving its death over and over, reaching out to anyone who comes down there alone after midnight? Jennifer doesn't know. None of them do. Sarah, Marcus, Jennifer. They don't have answers. Just trauma. Just fear. Just the absolute certainty that they'll never, ever wash clothes at midnight again. So here's what I want you to take away from these 3 stories. Shared laundry rooms after midnight are dangerous. Not always. Not every time. But often enough that you need to be aware. Often enough that you need to be careful. Robert Allen Kendrick was a real person who really did hide in a maintenance room, watching tenants, photographing them, planning something that we'll probably never fully understand. That's documented. That's factual. That's a danger that exists in the real world. But the other threats? The things that Marcus encountered, the entity that grabbed Jennifer? Those are harder to explain. Harder to prepare for. You can install better locks. You can check behind doors. You can be aware of your surroundings. But how do you protect yourself from something that shouldn't exist? I'm not here to tell you that every laundry room is haunted. I'm not here to say that you should never do your laundry at night. Some of you have no choice. You work odd hours, you have busy schedules, midnight might be the only time you have available. But I am here to tell you this: be aware. Be cautious. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, even if you can't articulate why it feels wrong, get out. Your wet clothes aren't worth your safety. Your clean work outfit isn't worth your life. And if you're in an apartment building, take 5 minutes to check the history of the property. Find out what was there before. Find out if there have been incidents. Find out if other tenants have reported problems. Knowledge is protection. Awareness is survival. The thing about these stories is that they're not really about laundry rooms. They're about vulnerability. They're about the moments when we're alone, distracted, following our routines without thinking. That's when we're most at risk, from human predators like Kendrick and from whatever else might be lurking in the shadows. Sarah learned that lesson. Marcus learned that lesson. Jennifer learned that lesson. Don't wait until you have to learn it yourself. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Nick, you've scared me, but what am I supposed to actually do? How do I stay safe? Here's my advice. 1. Never go to a shared laundry room alone after 10 p.m. If you absolutely must, bring someone with you. There's safety in numbers. 2. Check your surroundings. Look for doors you didn't notice before. Look for hiding places. Look for anything unusual. 3. Keep your phone charged and accessible. Not just for entertainment while you wait, for emergency calls if you need them. 4. If you feel uncomfortable for any reason, leave immediately. Don't rationalize it. Don't talk yourself out of your fear. Just go. 5. Report anything suspicious to building management and police, even if it seems silly, even if you're not sure. Better to look paranoid than to be a victim. And 6. Consider investing in your own portable washer, or moving to a building with in-unit laundry, or adjusting your schedule to wash clothes during daylight hours when other people are around. Your safety is worth the inconvenience. Look, I spend way too much time researching these stories, talking to survivors, trying to understand what happened and why.